Hello, I'm Marcus Bronzy. Welcome to another episode of What's in the Box. This is a very, very special episode because the microphone game has changed. Because Shure have released a brand new microphone. This microphone is so new that I'm not able to show you the packaging that it came in because it's not official packaging. But for years, many people have relied on the SM7B. This microphone right here, a microphone that I love, I've used for years. I'm a big fan of Shure microphones across the range. And one thing that has been an issue with Shure microphones, issue is a strong word, but a notable feature is that it lacks in something called gain, volume. And people have various ways of bringing it out in a professional environment. They have something called a preamp. In a slightly less professional environment, you'd have something called let me show it to you. This is a Triton FET head. So what this does is this actually boosts inline. So it's called an inline booster. So it actually boosts the decibels of an SM7B, which boosts your gain a little bit so that you can get a bit more out of the SM7B. So you'd think at some point, Shure might do something to remedy the fact that there is no, or a lack thereof, volume within the SM7B. And I'm happy to say that in this box we have got, I'll show you the official labeling, we have got the SM7DB active dynamic microphone. Look, it requires 48 volt phantom power. Yes, this is an SM7DB. So let's get in the box. Let's test it out. Let's have a listen to it in an environment that I think many of the audience will use it in. And let's crack on. So, of course, like I said, we've not got the final packaging, and I'm not allowed to show you the packaging that this came in, and I've got to be very careful to be clear that this is not the state that your SM7DB may come in. I will put pricing information in the description. I may be wrong. I believe you're looking at about 450 to 500 pounds. If that's the case, I'm going to mute out what I say and just put a massive number over myself because this is so new and I'm so excited. I just wanted to get into the box. But yes, anyway, let's move forward. So as you can see, you've got some Shure packaging. Again, this may not be the final packaging. This is definitely a cardioid dynamic microphone instructions for a regular Shure, so we'll remove that. But here, oh, what have we got in here? Oh, we've got the usual extra mic muff. Got some extra little bitty bits here, you know, that just helps you connect stuff up. You can never have enough of those. But here, without further ado, is the SM7DB. Nothing else in the box. We've got a cable tie in there somewhere. Whoa! Here it is. The SM7DB. Starters, you can literally see here on the microphone, it has SM7DB written there instead of the usual Shure logo. In fact, let's do a comparison. Let's do a compare. Let's get my trusty SM7B here. Let's do a comparison. So as you can see, the form factor slightly, try and hold those up for you so that's fair, so you can kind of see slightly, I don't know if you can see this on cam, it's slightly, the SM7B is slightly taller. Why? I would presume it's because they would have the actual amp with, or the boost within this. There's some extra technology in there which is going to boost the decibels, and they've managed to give us about, I'd say about a centimeter each. In terms of differences, let's just have a quick look here. You can see this is the SM7B, and the SM7DB has got a slightly different logo there, and I think it's on the other side. There you go. Well, that's a dynamic microphone, shows you that it's dynamic. And then here, obviously, we've got that dynamic logo there. Little green logo, okay. In terms of the connectors, these both look the same. Should we have a look at the microphones themselves? Let's pop these windshields off. I'm always a bit rough with these, but let me be. Everything pretty much looks the same. I'd say the extra bit of length you're getting is from the back casing, which of course holds the extra technology in to make this unit work under power with some actual gain. Okay, looks very same. In fact, I'd probably dare to say that these are exactly the same. Yeah, they're exactly the same. This one just had a little bit of a squish mark on it, but we'll pop that there. Okay, now I guess the main difference we want to look at is the back. As you can see, the Shure logo is in a slightly different position here at the top on the SM7DB. And there's actually these extra bits of detail which I'll show you. So as you can see, you've got these, on the SM7B, I'll show you over here. On the SM7B, you have these lines here where you can adjust the output of the microphone. So you can give it a little bit more top end, or you can pull the bottom end, or a nice little mid. So you have these little switches here where you can adjust the EQ output. I have them set to flat because I kind of do a lot of my stuff either in post or I do it in the desk. But you can adjust those. And on the Shure SM7DB, there's obviously a slight difference here because, as you can see, let me get that straight for you. As well as being able to adjust those, it shows you how you can adjust it when you flick said switches. Also made them a little bit easier to access. Oh, very easy to access. Yeah, you usually have to use a little key or a little hard something to get into these. A little something. But yeah. But here you can use actual switches and it shows you what you're setting it to. So I can drop off the bottom end, keep it flat. I can push up mid. Keep it there. Also, you can see the preamp where you can set it to bypass. Or if it's set to preamp, you can choose whether it's 18 or 24 decibels. There you go. So obviously if you bypass, that's off. I'm going to suggest that side bypass. And then preamp, you can adjust. So there you go. You can pop some extra decibels in, 18 to 28 decibels, which is, I'd say that's a significant amount in line to give us a little punch. So there you go. I mean, the other difference I'll say is on the side casing on the SM7B, I believe it's closest to the MV7, is you get this nice kind of Shure logo that you can see here as well. Yeah. So here they are, SM7B, SM7DB. I guess the next thing we need to do is set these up so we can have a listen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into an environment that I use these SM7Bs in regularly. I've got a Rodecaster 1. I'm going to plug it in. We have 3 SM7Bs here. I'm going to unplug one of them, plug in the SM7DB, set it up. I'll give you all of the settings that I've got on the Rodecaster for full transparency. I'm going to have the microphone set as flat. And then we're gonna see if there's a notable difference in sound. Obviously, I'm presuming there'll be a difference in the gain needed. And we're gonna have one with the Triton FET head. So you can see this is the old way that I used to have it set up. One of these. One with the Triton FET head, one of these. One by itself, so you can remember what it's like to have an SM7B without any gain. And then obviously we'll have one with the SM7DB. And I mean, to let you know how important this is to me, if this microphone really performs, it may be this is my standard microphone moving forward when it comes to content creation, like podcasts or streaming. Okay, let's get it all plugged in. Let's crack on. So here we are. Sounds a little bit different because we're using the microphone through the desks. We have 3 microphones set up here for you. Over here, we have an SM7B plugged directly into the desk. No cloud lifter, just microphone straight to desk. Over here in the middle, we have an SM7B plugged in via the Triton FetHead, the thing I discussed, the inline amplifier, which I use to just boost it a little bit, so I don't have to turn up the amp in the desk as much. Over here we have the SM7DB, and we're going to be comparing each of the sounds. Just to show you the settings, we have an overhead camera here where you can show you the settings. All of the audio processing is disabled on each of these. So there is no audio processing, and when the audio processing is on, they're all set to the same settings as well. And when it comes to the microphone type, obviously we have a dynamic setup here. This is set to condenser and condenser as well. So we have the dynamic microphone plugged in, and then we have 2 condenser settings as well. I think that is all we need to do before we crack on with our little testy test. So for starters, I can say the SM7B will put the power level up there, because this is kind of the biggest difference you'll see. You can see that I've had to put the gains all the way up to 45. And I don't know if you can hear, there's a little bass level of sound. I've got quite good wiring separation as such, so there shouldn't be any feedback of sorts, but I feel like this might be off the back of us pushing these amps within the desk up a little bit. There's a bit of floor noise there. You can hear that, can't you? And this is how the microphone sounds. So I've pushed it up. It's kind of in the middle of that, middle to top end of that safe area of the road. And that is how the SM7B sounds straight into the road. Not horrible, but if you have 4 of these plugged in and you're doing a podcast, that noise could be multiplied by 4. It doesn't sound very nice. Okay. Next up, we have got the SM7B cloud lifter on it as well. Let's show you the settings of that. So you can see now it's only got a gain of 22. Sounds there's a little bit of difference in color. Switch back to 3. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sounds like there's a little bit of difference in terms of the color of the microphone, but I'm very happy with how this sounds. This is kind of what I usually have. You can hear it's got a lower level of kind of noise. So you can hear the noise between 3 and the microphone with the 3. The microphone with just plugged into the desk turned up loud compared to this one. Okay, see? Noise. And there you go. There you go. So yeah, like a slightly, I mean, on the desk, it's saying between, you know, this one with the cloud lifter on it, I've got it about 22, 24. It's got that very low level of noise. And I think it sounds a little bit warmer. But, you know, we'll leave that to you. So that's how it's sounding. Okay, next up we have the SM7DB. And just so you know, I have obviously turned the phantom power on and I've whacked the gain all the way up. So before we swap over, let me show you the settings. It's on 10. Okay, I gave it a little go before we press record. It's on 10. Let's see how it sounds. I'll say straight away, in terms of the level of noise, we're in the same place as the cloud lifter. Very good. Yeah, I think we're in the same place in terms of noise, and it's only got a gain of 10. So if you look back over here at the overhead, you can see that the first microphone, the gain was all the way up to 45 to get a decent level of volume. And we come over to here, this is with the cloud lifter 24, and then with the SM7DB, we've only got it on 10 to kind of get it around the same levels when we're talking. Love the sound of it. Does it sound warmer? 1 second. 1 2 1 2. Does it sound a bit warmer? Yeah. Sounds like it has a little bit less color. I feel like that preamp, the Triton audio thing, that inline gain booster does add a bit of color to it. But I do like the sound of it. It sounds good, and it's just one less thing to plug into my setup. But we'll get to kind of my final review and what my thoughts are of it in a second. But just to be clear, this is how it sounds when it's all set up with no processing on the Rodecaster. And one more time, I'm going to give you a little sample of the bass level noise. I'll give you 10 seconds of each, so you can kind of get through that. If you want to fast forward through that, fine. We're going to put on the audio processing. But here is SM7DB noise level set to level 10, no processing. Bass noise level from the background. Okay, and let's have a SM7B with a cloud lifter. And now this is the SM7B, nothing, just plugged raw into the desk with the gain whacked all the way up. Not all the way. Not all the way. Sorry, not all the way. There's a little bit of extra. Oh, it's picking up some noise as well. There was a little bit of interference in there, a little bit of noise, but as you can hear, things like this are more easily picked up when you're pushing gains all the way up. Right, so next things next is when we throw all of the audio processing on, how does this change how it sounds? Careful with your ears, maybe turn it down because this might pump up the sound a little bit. But here we go. There we go. That is everything turned on with just the SM7B in the inside the Rodecaster. It's quite a nice difference in sound, that, isn't it? All the audio processing off, there you go. And that's everything on. Still getting a little bit of that. I don't know if you hear it. Still there's a little bit of interference somewhere. I've never really had these fired up directly into the desk with the gain all the way up. It's fine for one-off, I think, like voiceovers, but it sounds a little bit funky with regards to it wouldn't be good for a podcast if I had to deal with 4 times the amount of, or 3 times or 2 times the amount of this noise that's coming up. Let's switch over to the second microphone. The microphone which is plugged in with an inline gain. Let's give it processing and let's see where that takes us. Okay. Nice bit of color that's added in. I'll turn it all off again. There you go. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So added nice color in. Still, I feel like there's less interference. It sounds like it's nice. Sounds a little bit 1 2 1 2. Sounds a little bit less punchy, bit quieter. Maybe I might have to adjust the level slightly to get it bang on, but you know, I'm liking the sound of it. It sounds decent. Let's switch over to the SM7DB and see what happens when we switch on the processing. Hello. Oh, let's get that de-esser on. Hello. Okay, there we go. Sounding nice and clean. I like it. I mean, between the this is back to the inline. Between the inline and the in mic amp, I'm not really finding that much of a difference. Maybe you are, but it's sounding good. Low level, and this is how I'd have the microphone set up. Like, I don't mess around. I know that there are people that are really into their finite settings. I want a pod to sound good. I'm happy to rely on the inbuilt, pre-built settings on a desk. Okay, and I'm switching on all the audio processing for most situations. If I need to make finite adjustments, I might. But really, I'm someone who likes to switch it all on. But I really like the sound of the SM7DB, and the fact that I don't have to buy an inline thing to go from something that sounds like this, which is a bit of noise and sounds a bit over processed once I've punched up all the volume, to something that sounds a bit smoother like this. I'm really liking. Let's go and compare each of them one by one again with all the processing on. Back to just the SM7B plugged into the desk. Here we go. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Yes, okay. Like it. Sounds nice. There's a little floor of noise which is coming through when I'm talking. Sounds punchy. Sounds like there's a bit more top end. Sounds a bit crisper. But that's just how it is. Let's switch over to the second. Hello. Where are we at? There we are. Here we are. There we go. Sorry, in the middle. Got confused for a second. So here we are now, here with the Cloud Lifter or the Triton Fethead, which is plugged in to boost the gain on this microphone here. Sounding cool. Sounding fine by me. Nice level of noise. I mean, then I guess it's between this and between the SM7DB. I think there might be a little bit of color. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. A little bit of color that's added by the Triton, which is natural if you're adding something that is outside of the Shure family. But yo, you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy the fact that I can run a desk with the level of input. Just look, this is the main thing for me. Look, the level here is 10 for the SM7B DB. With an inline amplifier, I still need to put it to 24 to get around the same level. And without it at all, 45 gain. That's next to 10 is, you know, that's a massive difference in terms of the gain you have to put in. So in terms of this microphone, I think, let's move these others out of the way. Ugh. In terms of the SM7B, practical application, I would say, right, pure honesty, what's the benefit of having something like an inline amplifier? Something like this is great because you can use it with many microphones, right? Okay, let's get that out of the way. But the amount of gain that this gives you for an SM7B is not the same amount of gain as I'm getting inside this microphone here, and it's coming out clean out of the SM7DB. So for someone like myself, I do try other microphones and test them, but I'm pretty much happy with what I get out of my SM7B. I use it for voiceovers, for Trek Culture, the largest Star Trek channel in the world. I use it for tech review voiceovers here. I use it for podcasting. This microphone combined with a old school Rodecaster, which hasn't got the SM7B setting. I know the Rodecaster Pro 2 does. And I can test for that later on if you want me to test with the newer Rodecaster Pro instead of using my old dusty, trusty Rodecaster Pro 1. But for me, I really like the sound that this microphone gives and the fact that you have one less thing to plug in. So for me, as a practical aspect, the more things you plug in between your microphone and the desk means the more chances there are for things like interference, signal degradation, and things to break. So for me, I am truly saying this, and I just want to be clear, this is not paid. I'm truly a Shure fan, and that's why I have such a good relationship with the guys at Shure, because they know that I'm not doing this for dough. I'm doing this for pure love of the microphone. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on. SM7DB, big thumbs up from Marcus Bronzy. I'm probably going to order 5 now. I'm going to think about combining them with the MV2UX from Shure as well, which is the XLR to USB connector, because that does have a phantom power as well. So can we connect those together? Can we take the SM7DB on road, plug it straight into a computer and have it sounding amazing? Who knows? Who knows? We will see. I'm going to keep on tweaking around with the sounds of this and enjoy it. If you've got any questions, ask me in the comments. I've tried my best to kind of just give you a real life application for this microphone and how it sounds. Like, I'm not a graphs guy. I'm not, which is I respect. I'm not a guy that's looking at, you know, its frequency response in that respect. I'm a guy who's kind of using my ear. I'm someone who's been within the broadcast industry for over a decade, using my ears to kind of check out this microphone. And, you know, I welcome your feedback and your criticisms, so bring them to us. But here we go. We've tried it out, the SM7DB, a brand new microphone from Shure, which has inline phantom power and 28 decibels of gain. Anyway, I've been Marcus Bronzy, and I'll see you next time. Peace.